I met Diane walking into a Starbucks in Pasadena, California, shortly after I became homeless, and she was walking out. Practically ran into one another. I said, "Oh, excuse me, sweetheart." And she said, "Sweetheart." She looked up at me. She was a small woman, about 5 feet. I'm about 6'2". She said, "My gracious, God, you're a tall drink of water. One of the most gorgeous men I ever found." And she said this in this southern kind of, well, for an ignorant person, they'll say drawl, but it wasn't really Texas, but it was southern. And I said, "Hey, sweetheart, where did you ever get that accent from?" She said, "I got it from my hometown, Georgia. I'm from Georgia. Stone Mountain, Georgia." And thus began my relationship with Diane. Diane was also homeless. This is about the late 90s, 1998, 99. Both of us were homeless in downtown Pasadena, California. She said she was hijacked out of Georgia some years earlier and ended up on the streets, first in San Diego and then on up Southern California to eventually Pasadena, and a doorway in Starbucks where I met her. Couldn't stop asking Diane about the South and about Georgia, her hometown. She said it was great. She taught me about moon pies. They aren't hostess cakes, they're moon pies. You gotta have a moon pie. She taught me about Meemaw. She taught me about Pawpaw. She taught me about Miss Liza and Sir and Master. I loved hearing her talk about the South. I said, "I hear it's very humid down there in Georgia." She said, "Yeah, it's humid. But every day it'll rain. And it'll rain for about 5 minutes, and then it'll just stop. And all that closeness in the air will be gone. And you'll have a cool southern breeze. Kind of like a blessing in the middle of the day, when you need it the most." Diane had to be one of the most ugliest women I have ever seen in my life. She had no teeth. She was a woman who actually had a beard. She grew a beard. So when she showered, or she didn't like showering, she preferred bathing. And therefore, in 1998, as a homeless woman in downtown Pasadena, she bathed very infrequently. But when she did, she would have to also shave her face, because she'd grow stubble on her chin. Dark, big, black eyebrows that needed plucked. Very short, stubby, fat woman. Plump and hefty. She was about 50 years old when I met her. I was about 40. And we used to talk about where we were going and what we wanted to do, and when I get out of here. And I'd always ask her, "Diane, where you going?" She said, "I'm going back to Stone Mountain, Georgia." And I remember I asked her, as I was, planning on leaving myself down the road, I said, Diane, where do you think I should go, honey? I got some money now from Social Security and I'm getting out of town. I just need directions now. She said, well, you know where you ought to go. I said, where, Diane, just to make conversation because the days were long. She said, oh, you got to go to Stone Mountain, Georgia. You ain't seen nothing till you seen Stone Mountain, Georgia. I said, oh, Diane, I don't know. She said, well, you go where you like. Anyways, that was after years and years of being on the street with Diane. I knew Diane in Pasadena 2 years on the street, and she was on the street. She had no money, she had no job. She would collect welfare on and off. Money she would get sometimes from men who pitied her and gave her money for cigarettes. If she smoked incessantly. She didn't have money for cigarettes. She would canvass the ashtrays around the city for cigarette butts, collect them in a small tin she kept in a purse, and smoke them. She was on the street that I knew her for 2 years, but obviously, by the looks of her, she had been on the street for many more years than the years I knew of her. In time, in those 2 years, I saw her going from walking every day to lunch, about a half mile away at the shelter, the common shelter in Pasadena, Union Station, to barely being able to walk a block. After a while, her smoking, her bad eating habits caught up with her. And she couldn't walk. By the time I left her, she could not walk a city block without stopping 2 or 3 times to catch her breath. She had contracted and made herself suitably disabled in the time that I knew her, and she developed congestive heart failure. And voila, all of a sudden, she has learned of a way to make some money. And so she eventually got a check, $400 or $500 a month, I don't know, but it kept her in more cigarettes, and now it allowed her to send friends on errands to the corner deli or the corner store to pick up a pack of cigarettes or to buy some Hostess cakes or some chips or some pop to eat. Oh, get yourself a pack of cigarettes too, for the trouble. Numerous times in the 2 years that I knew her, I would say, Diane, has anybody ever offered you like a place to stay, or what's going on? And it's, oh no, nobody has ever offered me anything. But I heard through various contacts that I deem reliable that she had been offered a number of times places, federal housing, public housing, something of the sort, for women kind of things. They had those women's shelters and women certain things, and she was offered and turned them down repeatedly. She just didn't, no. My place is with my family. She called us her family. And therefore, for some reason, she felt she had to stay on the streets of Pasadena, California, even if she could not walk on them any longer. And so she grew disabled, and she grew immobile. And as you grow more immobile, it only worsens. Last time I saw her was in a plaza, a courtyard called Paseo, Colorado, and it's on Colorado Boulevard. And she was sitting there with a fresh pack of cigarettes, one in her mouth and an ashtray in front of her. A movie star had met her, and of course, like everyone who ever met Diane, he was smitten by her. He's on Grey's Anatomy or something. She knew of him, and he bought her like a $3,000 laptop. And so, the boys teached her how to use it, and so she was using the internet. And I saw her, and she was fat as ever, big as ever. Not hefty, not healthy, not plump, but bloated and fat. And I noticed the chair that she was sitting in, because she always sat in the same chair in this Plaza Pasadena, Colorado Pasadena, something like that. Surrounded by apartment buildings and condos all around her. And she had a chair, her table, in this Paseo, Colorado. And I noticed that the feet of the chair had dug itself over years into the granite of the plaza. A rut, quite literally, she had dug herself into. She eventually did take somebody's offer, some government agency, years later, of course. But, well, we make our own tomorrows.